Okay, all right. Well, welcome and happy new year and welcome back to school, even though we're online and nobody wanted this. Um, this is kind of the situation we're in right now. And so first of all, I hope all of you are healthy and well and safe. And um, there is a non-zero probability that some of you got sick over winter break or was infected or something like that. And so, if that's the case, I hope your symptoms are mild and you're recovering well. I hope all of your family and loved ones are safe and healthy and doing well there. But yeah, we're going to be meeting online for the at least the first 2 weeks, and hopefully that's it. And hopefully we'll be back on campus on the 18th. And yeah, that's what we'll hope for, and we'll just do our best. Anyway, let me share my screen. Let's see. Okay, can you guys see this okay? I think so. And all right. Oh, and there's all kinds of changes this quarter, right? We got a new learning management system, Canvas or Brew and Learn. I'm just gonna use those terms interchangeably because I don't know because Canvas feels easier to say, but it's like officially called Brew and Learn. You can technically type in canvas.ucla.edu and it will just forward straight to Brew and Learn. So that's a nice little thing. Anyway, this is our class, Python and other technologies for data science, stats 21. This is me, Miles Chen. Oh, I'm sorry, I should have introduced myself. I'm that's me, Miles Chen. So welcome, and I'm glad you guys are here. And thank you, thank you for being here, and thank you to all of you who've turned on your cameras. It really makes a big difference for me as a teacher to be able to kind of see your faces and know I'm not just shouting into the void. And especially and if you aren't going to have your camera on, it does make a difference having like putting a little profile picture of yourself, and especially a profile picture of yourself that looks happy. It just oh, and on when you go on Brew and Learn, I think you can set your own account, right? Like in the account, you can, this is what you guys see, right? Oh, I guess technically it's a little different. Oh man, why is my window all? Okay, funny. Okay, so you get student view. Okay, oh, so under account, oh, I get test student for the account. Okay, well, anyway, I think you can set under profile what your picture looks like. And anyway, it's a nice touch, okay? And then when you anyway, when you send me messages and stuff, but anyway, that works out that way. Okay. Oh, we said Happy New Year, Happy 2022. Okay, let's go over highlights of the syllabus. So I've posted the syllabus, and I'm still getting used to all of this. I think I got a decent handle on it, but okay, so you have your homework, your very first homework assignment, which would technically be homework 0. And there's like an in joke about Python being 0 indexed somewhere in here, but homework 0 here is basically read the syllabus. There's a homework collaboration policy, an academic integrity agreement, and we'll talk about all of this. I'm sorry for making you do this, but please read through the syllabus. The syllabus, it seems like it gets longer every quarter. This one is 9 pages long. Well, one of them is a table of contents, and but yeah, there's a lot. So anyway, hopefully you can find all of the information out here, and so read through it. I know it's not fun, but but that's that. Okay. Oh yeah. So this is me, Miles Chen. You can call me Miles. That's totally fine. You can call me Professor Chen or Dr. Chen, whatever, whatever you're comfortable with. That's fine. The one thing I don't really like is just being called my last name. Um, you know, I know some people go by their last name, but I'm not one of those people. Okay. I have a bunch of office hours. Okay. Office hours is my preferred method of communication. You can send me emails, and I have Campuswire set up, and you can send me DMs on Campuswire. But office hours is the preferred method. Often the way it works, what I prefer is, you come talk to me via office hours first. And then if you need like a paper trail, I can send you an email that just kind of says, as discussed in office hours, here's your extension for this homework assignment or something like that. Okay. That's just how I prefer to work. So, because office hours really is my preferred method of contact, I make myself, I think, available quite a bit. So I've got office hours Monday, Tuesday, twice on Wednesdays, Thursday, and Saturday. So I take, Fridays and Sundays, no, but pretty much a bunch of other office hours. That's like 6 separate hours. And Mondays and Wednesdays are, if you want to come talk to me in person, that's fine. And then, if you need to discuss something privately in office hours, we can do that as well. Obviously in person, we can, you can talk to me privately in my office, but online via Zoom, I can set up the waiting room, and I can kind of kick everybody else out into the waiting room. And so you can discuss personal issues at office hours there as well. So don't hesitate to come to office hours. You will get a faster response coming to office hours versus an email. Just making sure you guys know that. Okay. This is our grade breakdown, and we'll go over everything here. This first chunk here, you see this thing that says lecture viewing quiz. And I better, let me see. Okay, so we got, lecture viewing quizzes, DataCamp homework, submitted homework, and then there's a final exam and Campuswire participation. So hang on a second. Let me see. I think I did this correctly. Okay, so let's talk about these. Okay. Oh, and then as far as the grade scale, I go straight scale. I don't curve grades. That's just me and my personal, I guess, philosophy regarding grades. So, curving to me always felt like you had to kind of compete against your peers, because if your peers did like really well, then, you're going to be pushed down and things like that. And I guess I'm not a fan of that idea. And so for me, I view the class as, it's my job as the teacher to kind of create assignments that that you can do, and exams that evaluate you, and you are compared against the exam, and not against each other. So I don't curve. And please don't ask me to round up your grade, okay? All right, so these lecture view quizzes, this lecture is being recorded. And so, I'm gonna record these online lectures. And then also, even when we're in person, I'll still be recording the lectures. And, of course, I prefer live attendance. I like that you guys are here, and when we're in person, I like when you guys are in person, but I also understand, it's 9 a.m. and sometimes it's hard to show up on class on time and things like that. So anyway, the way I kind of check to make sure you're at least watching the lecture content is through the lecture viewing quiz. And so on Canvas, I think, so this is student view. you have week 1 Monday lecture viewing quiz. So you would open this, and then you would click take the quiz, and basically the quiz questions are, they have no context, there's no text, and basically I will give you the answers to the quiz in lecture. And so, you know, for example, this very first one, the answer is B, okay? And so you'll want to take a little piece of paper and you'll just write down number 1 is B, okay? And then I'll give you the answers to question 2 and question 3, you know, later in today's lecture. All right, and this is just to kind of make sure you guys are watching the lecture, right? And then so you just answer it. So question 1 is B, and then and I'll give you answers questions 2 and 3 later, and then we'll click submit when you're done. Okay, so the view quiz is due before the next lecture. So our next lecture is going to be on Wednesday, and it's due before Wednesday at 9 a.m. So you got to finish by, I think, Wednesday 8:59 a.m. Okay, and you know, it's a quiz. It's a quiz. It's part of your grade, and you know, so you gotta listen and you got to answer correctly. You know, if you were to share answers to any other quiz, that's cheating. And just like this, if you share answers to the quiz, it would be cheating as well. Okay, so don't ask your fellow classmates, hey, what were the lecture, you know, view quiz answers? You know, that's basically answering, hey, what were the answers to the test? Okay, that's you know, don't do that. And honestly, you're not helping your classmates out by giving them answers either, because the point of these view quizzes is to kind of make sure you're attending the lecture. And you know, it's my hope that these lectures are useful and full of content that are beneficial. Okay. Any questions on that as far as the lecture view quiz goes? Okay. So I have applied for a DataCamp access for our course, and I'm waiting to hear back. Granted, I submitted the application a few days ago, and so you know, it usually takes a couple days to get back, but they haven't, you know, I guess they might be on vacation too. I don't know what's, but anyway, hopefully I hear back from them soon. And basically DataCamp, I think it's a pretty good platform. They've got lessons, they've got little things that you do to, they've got homework assignments. And so I'm gonna assign some homework through DataCamp as soon as it gets back. And so just wait for that to appear. And you know, there's more information about how DataCamp is going to be graded in the syllabus, but pretty much the gist of it is this. DataCamp homework is graded on completion only. So on DataCamp, like if you get stuck, you can ask for hints, you can ask for the answers to be revealed itself, and that's fine. Don't feel bad about asking for hints, and don't feel bad about getting the answers revealed on DataCamp. So it's just graded on completion. If you complete it, you'll get full credit as long as you complete it on time. And if you complete it late, you'll lose some points. And then if you don't complete it, you'll get a 0. But that's how that works. Okay. And then we're also going to have regular homework assignments. And I think the first one is posted, but I haven't even told you how to get Python running on your computer. So you don't have to try to attempt it right now or anything. And that will be graded normally. So, you know, if you get it right or get it wrong, you know, you'll get more points or less points based on that. Okay, so that's your regular homework assignments. Okay, and there's a late policy in the syllabus. You know, you can read through that. And then if you need an extension for the homework, I'm generally, I think, fairly accommodating for, you know, any kind of, I guess, what I believe to be a reasonable excuse for or need for submitting something late, and that's that. You know, the only things that I'm not like okay with it is just like, oh, I forgot. That I'm gonna just say, well, you know, sorry, you're gonna lose some points there. But a lot of other things, I think I'm fairly reasonable. But yeah, of course, everybody thinks they're reasonable. So you can tell me whether I'm not. Okay. what did I say? Oh, no, about office hours. Yes, office hours are my preferred method of contact. Oh, please introduce yourself. And I have office hours for all of my classes. So make sure you tell me that, these are questions regarding stats 21 or, whatever class you're in. I think some of you are actually enrolled in both 21 and 102A. So make sure you give me the proper context. You're going to hear me say that if you're in both 21 and 102A, like the next class, you're going to hear me go over the same stuff because it's like pretty much the same policies there. Anyway, I like when students come to office hours, even if you only have like a small question or whatever, feel free to come by and stop by and things like that. The only things that I don't really like during office hours is like getting in arguments over points and stuff. There's like a regrade system on Gradescope. I want you to handle most of your regrades that way. And then, whatever, if we've made a mistake grading, then, I'm happy to correct that and make sure it gets resolved. But, if you're just going to come to complain that, we took off 10 points and you feel like it should have only been -5 points or something, I'll say that. please don't get into a fight with me over this. Okay. I think you should have gotten an invitation to Campuswire. You probably received a bunch of emails over winter break from me. I mean, in the last few days. So I think you should have received an email that said you got added to Gradescope, and then another email that says you got added to Campuswire. So Campuswire is going to be our kind of discussion forum. You post your questions there. You can answer your classmates' questions, and I can answer your questions, and our TA can answer our questions, and things like that. I don't know. You get participation points. That's part of your grade. So if you see a good question, upvote each other's answers. Okay, it costs you nothing to upvote your classmates' answers. All right, and that's how you rack up your points on Campuswire. So just if somebody answered the question, you can upvote it. Right. Sometimes it happens where there's just people will just chime in and say yes, or I'm wondering about that too as an answer. Those aren't good answers. Okay. But good answers, upvote them. Okay. This is our plan. This is my plan for what we're going to cover in our class. A lot of it is Python programming, and depending on who you talk to about like what's important in Python, everyone's going to have different opinions and different thoughts. And so this class is intended to give you kind of a foundation of I think a lot of the Python programming aspects, and then we're going to look at some important things that are necessary for data science, which will be working with NumPy and pandas, and a bit of data visualization through Matplotlib or Matplotlib, however you pronounce it. So this is what we're going to do. Our first week, however, we're going to cover Git and GitHub, and that's what we'll do. So that's, I guess, the other technologies. And as far as week 10 goes, yeah, I put fitting models here. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe we'll do SQL. I don't know. It's a little bit in flux here. Okay. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about plagiarism and whatnot. And if you've taken 102A or the 102 series and you've heard this spiel before, I apologize that you're hearing it again. Or if you're also enrolled in my 102A, you're gonna hear this same spiel. The truth is, for a lot of these assignments, okay, I'm gonna ask you to accomplish some kind of task. And the answer is that if you go searching around on the internet, there is already a bunch of really high quality code that does exactly what you need, because somebody else has thought of it, right? And this is probably the case for like 99.9% of all of the issues and stuff, okay? And if you are working and you have a job and the main goal is to get the task done, then yes, you should use code that is available in some package or code that has already been kind of proofed and checked and is already known to be high quality, okay? But in this class, the goal of taking this class is not that the task gets done, right? If I say, hey, write a function that can convert time from, one thing to another, the goal isn't, it's not that I need this function, okay, to get my job done. It's the process of writing that thing is actually helpful for your learning, okay? And I think we have a solid idea of this when it comes to things like sports and working out, okay? If you think about going to the gym, and I know well, it's the new year, and so a lot of people have resolutions about working out more and being physically fit and healthy, but right now the gyms are at campus, at least, are closed and things like that. But anyway, if you think about lifting weights, the goal of lifting weights is not that the weight gets lifted up off the ground, right? The goal of lifting weights is to gain strength, to get stronger, right? And I think we understand that if your workout, right, this concept of no pain, no gain, if your workout doesn't result in some kind of strain or soreness or something, you can't expect your muscles to get any stronger, right? And similarly, if you don't push your brain to a point where it gets a little bit tired, or you have to think, and you go, man, this is hard to think about, you can't expect your brain to get much stronger, right? If you only do easy challenges, right, and then you stop as soon as it gets a little bit uncomfortable or a little bit hard, how can you expect your brain to get any stronger, right? The way your brain grows and expands and forms new connections is, it's challenged, and right now your brain has to take this very long pathway to get to the answer, as far as the neurons go. And then later on, when you go to sleep, your brain says, hey, you know what? It took us a long path of neuron signals to get to our answer. What if we strengthen certain connections and things like that? And then, so sleep is important. And then your brain forms these kind of new pathways and new connections. And then therefore in the future, it's able to do the task quicker and better. And that's how we learn. And again, if you don't challenge yourself, if you don't experience any of that discomfort in terms of oh man, this is mentally difficult, your brain's not going to see any need to form new pathways, right? So anyway, so when you do struggle with the code or do struggle with an assignment, it's actually a good sign. It's going to be a sign that you are challenging your brain and you're learning, right? It's a good kind of pain, in the same kind of way that after a good workout, you're sore and tired, and it's comforting to know that your body's going to have to come back stronger. So when it comes to something like plagiarizing, right, you get stuck on a problem and you don't know how to answer it, and so you look on the internet for answers and things like that. It would be kind of like going to the gym to work out, and you say, well, these weights are kind of heavy, and I don't feel like lifting these any more. I'm going to ask somebody else who's strong to lift the weights for me, right? And if you ask somebody else to lift the weights for you, congratulations, you got the weights lifted, right? So the weights got lifted. But that defeats the whole point of going to the gym, right? Copying someone else's code defeats the whole point of taking a course for learning, okay? If the goal was we want to submit a homework assignment, or if the goal was I want to see the weights lifted, sure, that works. But the goal is not that. The goal is to either get stronger, the goal is to learn, and having somebody else do it for you, or copying someone else, is not going to help you achieve that goal, okay? And so, as far as I know, students do plagiarize sometimes, and I think the reason why students do that is because they get the goals of the course mixed up. In that, if you believe the goal if the course goal is, just getting submissions in versus learning, you're going to be tempted to plagiarize just because you feel like I have to get this submission in. Okay, the goal is your learning, right? And sometimes that means you have to just say, hey, you know what? I couldn't figure this out. I'm going to submit what I have. Maybe I'm not going to get 100% because I couldn't figure out all of the answers. But at least you can kind of say like, hey, you know what? This is where I was. And hopefully at the end of the course, you can say, well, now I've gotten to a better place where I can look back at this other assignment and recognize that I'm now able to do it. Okay. And I recognize there's kind of this conflicting issue because, I do have to assign grades and things like that. But, I mean, the whole idea of grading is kind of a weird thing, but I hope you can judge your own performance in the class based on what you learned and not just your letter grade. Okay. I know it's a hard sell, but that's the hope here. Okay. So my expectations for you is that you're going to work hard, that you're not going to look up answers from some other student's code. Okay. And you're going to just turn in what you are able to do. Okay. And even if that means turning in something that's less than 100%. That's what we have. And if, we do come across issues of plagiarism and stuff like that, I don't want to do this, but but we have to do this. So we'll, report it to the dean of students, and it's a bit of a pain, but that's that. Okay. Are there any questions? Okay, let me go ahead and give you your.
No one is around to hear it. Does it make a sound?
Okay, all right. The Alexa overheard me and is now responding to me. Okay, so Alexa, stop. Jeez. Okay, all right. What was I saying? Oh, second view quiz answer for today. Second view quiz answer is the letter C. C as in cat. C as in cat. So that's the second view quiz answer for today. Okay, and let's keep going. Okay. So we got this collaboration policy. You read through it. Basically, you can talk to other students, but don't look at each other's code. Okay. So I think, this is a little silly, but how did you do problem 2? You can say I created this kind of loop and I did this kind of thing. There's a lot you can explain, right? And this goes kind of on Campuswire as well, right? You can say, how did you approach a certain problem? And you can respond verbally without showing actual code, right? You can explain what you were thinking and how you approach the problem without showing actual code. Okay. If you say, hey, this is the code I wrote, that's no good. Okay. Right. Other things you are not allowed to do is like, hey, this is what I wrote. Okay. Or like, can you double check my work? Okay. You can't double check someone else's work because that involves reading through their code directly. Okay. Another thing is, this is more like an R error, but right. If you run into some kind of problem, okay, and you get some kind of error, you can ask, hey, what am I supposed to do with this error, right? You can copy an error message. That's allowed, copying an error message, okay? And as far as responses go on Campuswire or verbally, you can say, hey, did you check this kind of thing? Do you, you get this kind of error message when you encounter this? But again, just don't ask to show each other your code, all right? That's up to you, okay? It's a coding class. You're allowed to discuss code as long as it's not part of a homework assignment, right? So during my lectures, I'm going to have a bunch of code. You can copy and paste code from the lecture, right? And you can always discuss that and say, hey, what was the professor talking about when he wrote this code chunk and things like that. So that's allowed, okay? Just not when it's directly related to a homework assignment. Okay. This. I'm going to give you this spiel, and you might have heard it from me before, or you might hear it again from me later on in life, later even today if you're in my 102A class. but this is perhaps this is, in my opinion, a more important lesson than any of the other lessons I can give you this quarter, as far as these 10 weeks go. We're going to be learning a lot of Python stuff and Git stuff and other stuff. But in my opinion, what I can teach you or tell you about grades and life and managing your time, I feel like is a more important lesson, right? So number one, you guys are here, UCLA, right? And the reason why you got into UCLA, probably I should say, is that you had good grades in high school or community college, okay? And so while you're in school, so much of your energy and time is poured into your classes and getting grades and things like that. And so your grades feel very important to you, right? Your GPA feels very important. But I have to reiterate that your grades do not define you, all right? It feels, yeah, you know what? I was a student who did well in high school, and so I know it feels good to get good grades. It doesn't feel good to get a bad grade and things like that. Grades do play a role in like grad school admissions and things like that, but they are not the most important thing in life, right? Nobody looks back when they're, about to die and they go, oh man, I'm full of regret. I wish I got an A- instead of a B+ or something like that. Okay. You're not, this is not going to be the thing that defines you. Okay. So I wrote story time. So, let me share a little bit about myself, and so in high school, I worked hard, and I got good grades, and I was very proud of my grades. And, I I was not a star athlete. I was not like super social or anything like that. I didn't go to parties, but I felt good about myself because, I had good grades, and I thought, well, you know what? As long as I'm getting good grades, like that's fine. That was where I drew a lot of my identity and self-worth. And in senior year, I got into my dream school, which at the time was Caltech. And I got in, and I thought, yeah, finally, all of my hard work working on these grades and stuff have paid off and things like that. And then I went to Caltech in the fall, in my freshman year, and fall quarter of my freshman year, I got my first C ever at Caltech, and I thought, what is this? And then winter quarter, I got my first D ever, and then spring quarter of my freshman year, I got like everything fell apart, and I got like multiple Fs, and I was put on academic probation, and yeah, it did a real number on me, especially and I saw it coming weeks before the end of the spring quarter, and I became depressed because it's kind of, I had tied so much of my self-worth and self-identity to my grades, and I saw all of my grades, like I was struggling in the classes, I was struggling on the exams. Every time I took a test or submitted something, like I knew like it wasn't good, and so I was depressed, and yeah, it was really hard. And prior to after spring quarter, I was like, do I even want to go back to school? Because if I go back to school, I have to get good grades, and I don't know how to get good grades, and otherwise they're going to kick me out of school. And I'm very thankful. My father at the time, he was very supportive and understanding, and he said, basically said, it's not worth it. This dream of going to Caltech, this dream of going to your dream school and things like that. It's not worth it, in that it's not worth the toll that it's taking on kind of just yourself and your. So anyway, what I ended up having to do is I transferred out of Caltech. I was planning on going back to community college. He found this school that was accepting late admissions. I ended up going to a small engineering school out in Michigan, and I think that kind of the change in location and atmosphere helped out a lot. The classes were easier, and I did better. And so anyway, what that struggle was, that struggle in terms of failing all of these classes and having this kind of identity crisis taught me that it was not healthy and it was not good to have my self-image and self-worth tied so closely to my grades, right? And so because of that experience, I was able to kind of separate, how I viewed myself from my grades, right? So, but it took kind of this painful experience of failing classes and struggling with that. So all to say, I don't know where you are and what your relationship is with grades and things like that, but I don't want you to have to face that same painful experience. And anyway, I want you to know that you are so much more than just your grades, your academic achievements. And even when you go on and find a career and pursue work and things like that, you are so much more than just your professional achievements, right? Sometimes people will tie their identity to their work and their salary level and their title and things like that, and that's not good, right? So anyway, I wrote, when I failed academically, I felt like I was a failure, right? And what it took for me to kind of restore that was, I had to let go of that dream, and so now I'm thankful for that, right? As painful as that experience was, I'm thankful for it. And so, today, I find my self-worth not in my grades. I found it in my faith, also my relationship with others. And there's a lot of other things that I say, okay, this is where I'm drawing value for as a person. So anyway, that's what I wanted to share with you guys. And, so as you go through this class and things like that, and other courses, sometimes it can be stressful. And I just want you to be able to provide a little bit of that perspective, right? Sometimes, we wonder about this work-life balance, and especially in college, and and after you graduate and you're starting off in your career, there's kind of a lot of questions of like, how do you find the right work-life balance? And so, the way I kind of view it is I see, there's three broad categories that we can pour our energies of life into. And one is going to be work, and that's going to include school and academics, also your job, internships that you have, other kind of professional obligations. Another is going to be relationships, either with your friends or your family, or if you're in a romantic relationship, things like that. And then yourself, right? You can kind of pour energy into your own physical health, mental health, or spiritual health, things like that. And the truth is there's 24 hours in a day, and it's not possible to give 100% to every single one of these categories, okay? And so we have to make choices. Right? And so I would say a proper work-life balance is achieved by you consciously choosing what's important to you, and then you devote your time and energies accordingly, right? And in general, the hope is the more time you put into something, the more you're going to get out of that thing, okay? And the less time, the flip side of that is that the less time you put into something, you're going to get less out of that, right? And so there's just going to be natural consequences of putting less time into something, right? And if you can kind of be okay with the natural consequences of what happens when you put less time into something, then I think you can find satisfaction, right? Because that's what's going to happen. You can't put 100% everywhere. So you got to put less time in certain places. And if you can just be okay with that, then that's fine. So here's a bit of a silly example. All right. So let's say you have a group of friends, and then one day you become you get a boyfriend or girlfriend or some kind of romantic partner. Okay. And so now you're choosing to invest a lot of time and hours into your relationship with your romantic partner. Okay. Because you desire a stronger relationship, right? But this means you're going to have less time to put in with your kind of original group of friends, okay? And what happens when you put less time into your group of friends is that just naturally you become a little bit distant, all right? Your relationship with your friends will just become a little bit weaker than what they were before, because you used to spend this much time and now you're spending less time. And when you see that distance forming, a lot of times in the beginning, it feels a little bit hostile. You're like, oh man, why wasn't I invited to this thing and things like that, right? And it's not necessarily that they're trying to get back at you and they're angry at you for having a romantic relationship or something, but that's just naturally what happens when you are less available or you have less time available to spend with them. Things, just the relationships get weaker and more distant, okay? And if you can kind of just accept that and just say, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense. I used to spend this many hours and now I only spend this many hours, and therefore our relationship isn't as strong, but I'm okay with this. Then I think you can go move through life without bitterness and jealousy, okay? Similarly, in the work world, in the corporate world, there are going to be some people who devote a lot of time and energy to the company, and the company often rewards that, okay? Versus people who have to split their time and energies between work and other things. And it's not that the people who are splitting their time, giving time to their family are being actively punished, but just naturally from the company's perspective, who would you rather promote, right? The person who did everything that you asked of them, and then they continued to stay at work and did even more for the company, or the person who did everything that you asked of them, and then as soon as they finished, they immediately left and went to spend time with their family and friends, romantic partner, things like that. From the company's perspective, you'd want to promote and reward the person who stayed and did even more, okay? And again, this person might have only stayed because they didn't have a family or friends or romantic partner or things like that. But it also just kind of makes sense that this person is the one that's going to get promoted. And you know what? You get to make the choice as far as what is important to you, right? If what's important to you is climbing the ranks of the company, then yeah, spend your time accordingly. If what's important to you is time with your family and friends or a romantic partner, spend your time accordingly. And just accept the natural consequences, right? If you spend all of your time at the company, then your relationship with family, friends, romantic partner are going to be they're just naturally going to grow a little bit weaker, right? If you spend a lot of time with your family, friends, and romantic partner, then perhaps you will not be rewarded as rapidly at the company, right? And that's just kind of the natural consequences. And the joy of this is that you get to choose what's important to you, right? You get to choose. Self-care is important, okay? You must not neglect taking care of your physical and mental health. If you neglect self-care, then you are likely to operate at less than 100% efficiency, and your time spent elsewhere is not going to be as productive, right? So like an example, if you're not getting enough sleep, then you can be a drag to hang out with, right? Your friend invites you out, but because you didn't get enough sleep the night before, perhaps you're a bit out of it or not as energetic. You're not as much fun to hang out with, okay, right? Or maybe you don't get enough sleep and you choose to stay up studying and things like that. But because you're not sleeping enough and not getting enough food, maybe you end up getting sick, or just physically and mentally you're not quite there at 100%, and your performance on exams suffer. That could happen. So make sure you take care of yourself, right? And so throughout the class, and some of your other teachers will also tell you things like your mental health is important, your physical health is important. When we say this, we are not saying this just to fill empty noise and hear ourselves talk. And just because this is the thing that we're supposed to do, okay? What effectively we are saying is prioritize those things. And sometimes prioritizing your physical and mental health means choosing not to complete your homework to 100%. Sometimes you say, you know what? It's more important that I get rest than it is for me to stay up and finish this homework assignment. So I'm going to turn in what I have, right? The natural consequences of that is your homework grade is not going to be 100%, right? If you only did 70% of your homework, you're going to get a 70% on your, assuming you did that 70% correctly, you're not going to get 100%, okay? But again, you don't have to do everything that somebody tells you, right? You get to make a choice. And so if you say, hey, you know what, I'm looking at this, between everything I had to juggle this week, I just don't have the energy in it to finish this homework to 100%. I'm going to turn to what I've got. Okay. Do that. Right. And I think that's in a lot of cases, that is the right choice to say, you know what, this class is less important to me than it is to be healthy. Or in other cases, it might be like, my friend has gone through something traumatic and I want to be there to support my friend. And that might mean putting in a lot of energy and time into supporting your friend. And maybe that means you didn't have enough time to finish your homework assignment. Okay. And that's a choice you can make. You can say, well, I'm willing to sacrifice some of this homework grade in order to, be a good friend and things like that. And I want you to be comfortable with those kinds of choices, right? And for some of you, that's a bit of a paradigm shift, okay? Especially because, again, thinking back to when I was in high school and grades were the most important thing in life to me at that time, the idea of sacrificing grades in order to do something else, that would have been, very undesirable for me. But, looking back, I think, I didn't have to put in as much time into certain things because what benefit was that? So anyway, that's what we mean. But when we say self-care is important, take care of your mental health. We're saying, what, be okay with doing your homework less than 100%. Okay. I'm going to run out of time here. Okay. One last thing. Beware of fruitless entertainment. Okay. So entertainment and fun activities, these are very important. Oh, okay. Look, before I forget. So if I get to like 9:48 and I haven't given you your third view quiz answer or something, 9:45, just put in the chat, hey, we need our third view quiz answer. So today's third view quiz answer is the letter D. D as in dog. D as in dog is our third view quiz answer. Okay. Okay. Entertainment, it's very important as part of it's important to have fun, to have things in life that are fun for us, for our well-being and our mental health, right? So, you hang out with friends, watch TV, play some sports, play some games, things like that, go on a hike. Those are good things. You should do those things, okay? And then when you participate in one of these entertainment and fun things, what it should do is it should restore your mental energy, right? Like when you do and participate in these things, you should feel refreshed and feel like, oh yeah, okay, now I'm ready to go back and face this homework assignment. I'm ready to go back and do work. I'm ready to clean my room and do all of these things that I don't really want to do, right? But there's certain things that have kind of been designed to pull our attention and perhaps give us short-term dopamine rewards, but long-term, they have the opposite effect of making us feel any better, right? So if you think about certain apps, especially apps with a feed, okay, right? If you think of apps with a feed, those things have been designed with continuous scroll, and they're designed to kind of suck as much time as you have. And they're designed to be addictive, okay? And you can thank data science for the design of these apps to be so addictive and time consuming. And, as you're going through it, you get these immediate little dopamine hits, right? You see a little new thing or something, right? Even just like something like reading the news and stuff, right? And they just keep scrolling forever and keep you coming back. But after spending hours of doing this activity, you don't feel any better about yourself. You don't feel good about yourself. This did not have the effect, right? If you think about what should a fun and entertainment activity be, some of these activities don't do that, right? And instead, they just kind of suck your time. You have less time to do other stuff, and they didn't give you kind of that energy boost that you were looking for in the first place. So I want you to be mindful of that and just be aware of like, hey, is this thing that I'm doing, whatever it is, right? Is this a good use of my time, right? So I remember there was a time when, you know, I'd play certain video games and it was just like round after round after round. Like you play a round, you win or you lose, you play another round, win or lose. And you just kind of keep going and going and going. And then, you know, it's like 5 hours later, you're like, oh man, what did I do? Right. You know, I got some wins, I got some losses, but I didn't feel any better at the thing. And so, and I'm not saying like the thing is you have to cut this out of your life. Just be mindful of that. Okay. All right. I was going to introduce Anaconda. I mean, you can go through some of these notes. Just very quickly, what you should do is, I know I'm over my time. Just type in Anaconda Python, or you can just type in Anaconda. It's probably going to be the first thing. Go to Anaconda and download the individual edition. Okay. And then go ahead, download and install that. And then we'll talk about this. And the other thing that I'm going to introduce will be Git. That we'll bring that in on Wednesday. Okay, that's it for today. So just some life stuff, I guess. We'll do a formal introduction to Git and Python and all of that on Wednesday. All right. Anyway, Happy New Year, you guys. Looking forward to a good quarter, and we will see you guys on Wednesday. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you.